nome é Silvana Prado e eu venho trabalhando com EFT há 4 anos, tanto com as pessoas num trabalho particular, como aqui no Grupo Apoiar, que eu sou presidente. Nós conseguimos atender 15 pessoas fazendo as rodadas do EFT com um sucesso maravilhoso, todas relaxam e é realmente impressionante. Buscando melhorar e aprofundar meu trabalho, eu criei o site www.silvanaprado.psc.br. E no site tem muitas matérias inéditas que eu traduzi, e uma das coisas que eu estou iniciando são entrevistas. Então essa é a primeira entrevista, eu espero que nós possamos fazer muitas outras. E o entrevistado é o Craig Weiner. O cara é fantástico. Ele tem matérias maravilhosas no site dele, matérias científicas que ele consegue explicar de uma maneira simples. E para quem quer conhecer mais o EFT, é importante ler essas matérias. Ele também tem vídeos maravilhosos com o fundador do EFT, por exemplo, o Gary Craig, com um dos maiores estudiosos dos Estados Unidos, que é o David Feinstein. E eu admiro muito o trabalho dele. Então essa entrevista, eu estava um pouco ansiosa e no início eu dei umas gaguejadas, mas no final as coisas entraram no eixo. Eu espero que você goste e que você envie sugestões para me ajudar a melhorar o trabalho. Meu e-mail é silvanapradoapoiar@gmail.com. E eu desejo muita paz e muita alegria na sua vida. Hi, Greg.
Hello, Silvana. Good day.
It's really nice to have you here. So, Craig, would you tell us about yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I imagine only the parts that are pertinent to this. And so what I would say is, first, I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 23 years. I've worked in the healing arts for between 25 and 30, doing all kinds of healing and integrative and complementary healing work. So I began as a massage therapist, but I was always interested as a massage therapist, as a chiropractor, as a pre-med student in holistic healing and integrative healing, in mind, body, spirit healing. So over the years, my practice and myself personally and professionally has evolved. And about, I guess about 7 years ago now, I was introduced to EFT as a form of energy healing work and fell in love with it. And the person that taught me it.
How about how you met Alina?
Yeah, actually, I've always been a person in person and on radio and in different ways that has been a bridge builder. Yeah, so I've always brought different kinds of healing arts practitioners for presentations and conferences. And so I was doing one we call the Transformational Dialogues here in the Seattle area where I live. And I decided to challenge myself to something I didn't know anything about. And I'd been hearing about this EFT tapping online and kind of poo-pooed it, you know, but you know, back then you'd see the videos or the lines like, try it on everything. It works on everything, right? Yeah, and when I hear that, I'm like, yeah, right, okay. So I avoided it and I pushed it aside like many do at the beginning. So when I decided to put on this dialogue, I Googled EFT for my area and found out that there happened to be a person on my island where I live named Alina Frank, and she did that. So I called her and I said, would you like to come do a presentation at my office? And she said, sure. Long story short is that it went wonderfully well. I ended up taking the training, I ended up studying EFT, and in that process, the transformational dialogue transformed my life because we got married. And now we train and teach together, and we work with EFT students and train EFT students. So EFT changed my life in many ways, not just professionally, but personally as well.
You're lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. Thank you.
Okay, you have been to a very important event this month, ASAP, right?
Very privileged.
I'm very curious and I was jealous because I could not go. Would you tell me about some of the experiences you had
Sure.
on the event?
Yeah, for those people that don't know, there are certainly EFT organizations around the world, right? And Gary Craig founded it, and since then, um, many things have happened within the world of EFT. There's EFT Universe, and there's AMET, and there's what's called the Association of Comprehensive Energy Psychology. Yeah, so ACEP. So ACEP has a yearly conference. This year was, I believe, its 16th conference. And Alina and I were invited to give a breakout presentation at the conference. And the topic that Alina specializes in, and we've created some courses in, is in intimacy, relationship, and sexuality, using EFT to help dispel the blocks from connecting deeply. And so we presented on that topic there. And the beauty of being there was that it served many purposes. One is it was an honor to present and have people like Donna Eden in the audience, and that was just beautiful. And to meet so many of the people, and Tapas Fleming and Fred Gallo, and so many, grandfathers and grandmothers and mentors in the EFT tapping world. We were welcomed right in. It was wonderful. And there were some amazing presentations. I'm really looking forward because at the conference now, they have them all recorded. So as soon as they're released, I'll be able to go see the ones I didn't get to see. But there were a few that were extremely powerful. One of them was by Roland McCready, who's the chief scientist at HeartMath. And he spoke a lot to the energy field of the heart and how energetically they're starting to validate scientifically the heart field's impact on others, and how, for example, in some forms of tapping, we really use that heart field intentionally. So it was a beautiful presentation on more of the scientific measurements that are starting to grow to help validate more of the energy work that's emerging. So that was beautiful. And one that particularly touched my curiosity and interest was one by Bruce Ecker. And Bruce Ecker's the developer of something called coherence therapy. It's a type of psychotherapy. But what he really spoke about was the emerging field of what's called memory reconsolidation.
Now, is he a therapist?
He is.
He a therapist? Okay.
Yes. And so what memory reconsolidation is simply is, for those people that are just learning tapping, is what they'll understand is that as we take an original traumatic event or memory that continues to affect our lives negatively, right, and still has negative emotions, whether it's grief about it or sorrow, resentment, or anger still being triggered around that original event and memory, that there are steps that neuroscience and therapy are starting to show have the ability to transform the meaning of that original memory in such a way that it neutralizes it so that you still may remember the events, but what we call the implicit memory and the decisions and beliefs and way we perceive what we learned from that event can be altered. And what he did was he went through a variety of steps that are very, very much a part of many of the tapping modalities, saying that it doesn't really matter what intervention you call it, whether it's coherence therapy or EFT, et cetera, as long as they have several of these steps of bringing up the original memory so that we're thinking about them, of providing a safe container, and all those different steps. It was a beautiful way to show that what we're doing in the EFT world matches what they're finding in the neuroscience world. So it was fabulous.
So let's go to the basics. Tell us what is EFT, so people that still don't know it, we will have an idea about EFT. Sure.
So the way that I describe EFT varies with who I'm speaking to. If I'm speaking to a patient, if the patient is an engineer or a scientist, if the person is a body worker, right? So I will adapt how I describe EFT to what I perceive as the listening of the person I'm talking to. Okay.
It's a bridge, right?
Bridge, sure. We talk about bridges in the beginning training. And some of the easy bridge words in English have to do with stress. I will Well, let me back up a second. What I will say is what we teach. So we have a course, the EFT MBA, where we train EFT coaches. And I'm saying that because when we teach them how to talk about what we do, we actually have them lessen the talking about EFT and talk more about what they're going to be helping the person with. So when I meet somebody, if they're a person that's in a lot of pain, I say I work with this technique that gently and safely helps to reduce pain so that you can be more free to go about your life and do the things you want to do. And they'd be like, really? Wow, I want to hear more about that. If I just start off with, well, EFT is an emotional version of acupuncture that works to neutralize past negative memory, right? So I recommend that once people start to do EFT, they have that conversation with what they're going to help the person achieve as a result of the work they're going to do. That being said, if somebody specifically asked me what is EFT, then I would answer differently. And I would say EFT, also known as emotional freedom techniques or tapping, is a very safe and gentle approach that we can use to reduce the negative emotions and triggers and stress related to a variety of things in our life, whether it has to do with our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, the things that we're trying to do in the world, like our relationships. And if stress can affect you negatively in those areas, EFT can help to reduce that so you can have a more positive result in those arenas. So I speak to it more like that. I'll use words about reducing stress. I'll use words about, people like to call it emotional acupuncture without needles. So I'll feel with some of those phrases and words to help them understand better.
Great, that's really nice. And what do you think is the future for EFT? Because we are in the very interesting moment.
Yeah, we are. Well, I would say number one, it primarily looks very positive because as we look to, number one, worldwide, the recognition, appreciation, and movement toward complementary and alternative healthcare is only growing as far as people's involvement, people's financial self-paying. All the studies show people paying more and more out of pocket for many of these complementary modalities. We're seeing energy medicine begin to gain a foothold in its entirety of scope on many levels, and places like HeartMath beginning to validate some of the more subtle energy forms. We're seeing specifically in EFT the number of studies growing exponentially in the last 5 years. So we're seeing valid in peer-reviewed journals, scientific journals, EFT showing increasing effectiveness. Just a new study came out against EFT versus regular talking therapy in gifted students' anxiety, and it showed a better result. We see it in PTSD, many studies, post-traumatic stress disorder. We've seen it in phobias. We've seen it in food cravings and weight loss. We've seen it in anxiety levels. We've seen it in even psoriasis. We've seen it. So in other words, there's a large body of growing research. And we're seeing the beginning levels of acceptance. In America, for example, the American Psychological Association has just allowed the giving of CEUs, continuing education credits, for certain organizations that are teaching EFT. Mm-hmm. So all of the indicators are that it's growing in research, growing in acceptance, growing in integration. We're seeing more and more, for example, we're in the middle of creating a documentary on the science of EFT tapping. And in the film, we have 2 psychologists, acupuncturists, 2 medical doctors, chiropractor. So we're seeing an integration of EFT tapping into many different professions. So I would say it's only gaining and growing in acceptance and validation.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have been using EFT for about 4 years, and one of the trainings I took was with Alina. She's a great teacher, by the way. And yes. One thing I love about EFT is that we have so many people coming to the center, and we can use for with 50 people, and everybody's gonna have some benefits.
Right.
Isn't that great?
It is. It's fabulous. It's a very, very safe technique when done properly, and the results are often profound. You know, there are certainly, and I want to be appropriate, there are some things, many things, that I think we can use EFT tapping for ourselves. I think there are other ones when we start to talk about, and obviously I'm sure you teach in your teachings, when we start to deal with very traumatic events, that it's very, very helpful and actually important to be working with somebody else that can hold that safe container for you. But we have seen amazing things. We have clients that have got on planes that haven't been on planes in years, and ones that have just gotten over amazing physical issues. And there's so many different ways in which EFT can help, because when we're working with the energy system and we're working with the negative emotions associated with all kinds of situations and conditions, then I guess I come back to saying you really can try it on everything.
I hope this is the first of many interviews. And would you like to leave a message for our listeners?
Sure. You know, for everybody in Brazil and everybody that speaks Portuguese that'll be visiting this, number one, thank you for your interest in EFT and your passion for it, and for the things, the people that whose lives you'll touch that you don't even know about yet, and the miracles that happen. I just sent so many blessings for that, and it's a privilege to be a part of this. We have, if you'd like, on our website, efttappingtraining.com, we have a lot of articles and interviews with Gary Craig and David Feinstein and Fred Gallo, all those people. So please use the resources that are available. There's so many wonderful ones out there. And just keep tapping and keep loving it and keep doing your own personal work. That's my biggest message. Yeah.
Craig, thank you very much for taking the time to speaking to us, and I hope I'll see you soon.
You will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.